Okay, so at the top, I'm sorry, not at the top because we are continuing with part 5. So underneath number 1, go ahead and draw a squiggly line. And then you need to title this part of your Wonder vocab, Wonder Part 5, Chapters 5 through 8. That is the title. So we underline it, and then today's date, 11/18/20, November 18th, 2020. Now we are starting with number 2. Number 2 is the word unison. U-N-I-S-O-N. Unison. U-N-I-S-O-N. Unison. The word is unison. U-N-I-S-O-N. Unison is an adverb, which means it describes the way, it describes a verb, it describes how an action happened. It means doing something all together at the same time. So unison, U-N-I-S-O-N, is an adverb. That means it describes, it's a describing word. It describes a verb, how something happened. And it means doing something all together at the same time. So that means if you do something in unison, you're doing it at the same time with other people. So we would do things like sing in unison. We're all going to sing the same thing at the same time. We would speak in unison. When I say, class, what is the answer? You guys answer in unison. You give me the same answer all at the same time, or at least as best you can. So here's the word in context. So be sure that you're listening for this in the story today. They nod in unison, ice cream dripping onto their hands. Number 3 is the word abandon. Abandon. A-B-A-N-D-O-N. Abandon. A-B-A-N-D-O-N. Abandon. You've probably heard this word before. It can be used as an adjective as well as a verb, but in this case we're using it as a verb, which is, of course, an action. It is a verb. It is an action. And it means to leave behind with no plan to return. So if you leave something behind with no plan to return, you abandon it. It also means to give up on something. So it also means to give up on something. So if you start cleaning your room and then you abandon it, that means you gave up on cleaning your room. Or if you start a project, like you start making a piece of art, and then you're like, I hate this, I have no idea what to do next, I give up. You abandon that project, that art. So abandon can either mean to literally leave something behind with no plan to return, like you can abandon a house, which means you leave it, you're like, I'm never coming back. Or it also means to give up on something. I'm going to renovate my house. But then it gets really hard and I'm like, oh, no, I'm done. I give up. Then I abandoned renovating my house. I'm not actually doing that. That was just an example of when things like that do happen. Yes, Kingston. What? Like fixing it up. Victoria, do you have a question? Okay. Anybody have any questions about the words or need me to spell anything? Please make sure that you have everything spelled correctly, especially the vocab words. Make sure that you have all of the words written. Make sure you have not left out any words or any letters. Once you are sure that your vocab and definitions matches mine exactly, then you may put your vocab notebook away. Oh, wait, pause, because I forgot to give you abandon in context. So here's the word in context. Make sure you're listening for this as you read. Why? Who's saying it? Why are they saying it? Who are they saying it to? What's going on that is making them say this? So here's the word in context. No, it's not all random. If it really was all random, the universe would abandon us completely. And the universe doesn't. Okay, so go ahead, put your vocab notebooks away. Get out Wonder. And make sure that you are in your good listening position so that we do not have to wait for you to get into your good listening position. Do not make the rest of us wait just because you feel like doing what you want to do. Aaron, go ahead and open your book to page 196. Finger ready to follow along with this chapter title. Or if you have a bookmark or a piece of paper that you're using, but your finger needs to be ready to follow along. Your finger needs to be ready to follow along. Please focus. Make sure that you are not the one that we are waiting for their finger or their bookmark or whatever to get to where it needs to be. Chapter 5, the bus stop. Olivia's mom, Augie, Jack, and Daisy came down the stoop just as I'm saying goodbye to Olivia. Slightly awkward since we are in the middle of a nice long kiss. Hey guys, says the mom, pretending not to see anything, but the two boys are giggling. Hi, Mrs. Pullman. Please call me Isabel, Justin, she says again. It's like the third time she's told me this, so I really need to start calling her that. I'm heading home, I say, as if to explain. Oh, are you heading to the subway? She says, following the dog with a newspaper. Can you walk Jack to the bus stop? No problem. That okay with you, Jack? The mom asks him, and he shrugs. Justin, can you stay with him till the bus comes? Of course. We all say our goodbyes. Olivia winks at me. You don't have to stay with me, says Jack as we're walking up the block. I take the bus by myself all the time. Augie's mom is just way too overprotective. He's got a low, gravelly voice, like a little tough guy. He kind of looks like one of those little rascal kids in old black and white movies, like he should be wearing a newsboy cap and knickers. We get to the bus stop, and the schedule says the bus will be there in 8 minutes. I'll wait with you, I tell him. Up to you, he shrugs. Can I borrow $1? I want some gum. I fish $1 out of my pocket and watch him cross the street to the grocery store on the corner. He seems too small to be walking around by himself somehow. Then I think how I was that young when I was taking the subway by myself. Way too young. I'm going to be an overprotective dad someday, I know it. My kids are going to know that I care. I'm waiting there a minute or two when I notice 3 kids walking up the block from the other direction. They walk right past the grocery store, but one of them looks inside and nudges the other 2, and they all back up and look inside. I can tell they're up to no good, all elbowing each other, laughing. One of them is Jack's height, but the other 2 look much bigger, more like teens. They hide behind the fruit stand in front of the store, and when Jack walks out, they trail behind him, making loud throw-up noises. Jack casually turns around at the corner to see who they are, and they run away, high-fiving each other and laughing. Little jerks. Jack crosses the street like nothing happened and stands next to me at the bus stop, blowing a bubble. "Friends of yours?" I finally say. "Ha," he says. He's trying to smile, but I can see he's upset. "Just some jerks from school," he says. "A kid named Julian and his 2 gorillas, Henry and Miles." "Do they bother you like that a lot?" "No, they've never done that before. They'd never do that in school or they'd get kicked out. Julian doesn't even live around here, so I guess it was just bad luck running into him." "Oh, okay," I nod. "It's not a big deal," he assures me. We both automatically look down Amesfort Avenue to see if the bus is coming. "We're sort of in a war," he says after a minute, as if that explains everything. Then he pulls out this crumpled piece of loose-leaf paper from his jeans pocket and gives it to me. I unfold it, and it's a list of names in 3 columns. "He's turned the whole grade against me," says Jack. "Not the whole grade," I point out, looking at the list. He leaves me notes in my locker that say stuff like, "Everybody hates you. You should tell your teacher about that." Jack looks at me like I'm an idiot and shakes his head. "Anyway, you have all these neutrals," I say, pointing to the list. "If you get them on your side, things will even up a bit." "Yeah, well, that's really gonna happen," he says sarcastically. "Why not?" He shoots me another look like I am absolutely the stupidest guy he's ever talked to in the world. "What?" I say. He shakes his head like I'm hopeless. "Let's just say," he says, "I'm friends with someone who isn't exactly the most popular kid in the school." Then it hits me, what he's not coming out and saying. August. This is all about his being friends with August. And he doesn't want to tell me because I'm the sister's boyfriend. Yeah, of course, makes sense. We see the bus coming down Amesfort Avenue. "Well, just hang in there," I tell him, handing back the paper. "Middle school is about as bad as it gets, and then it gets better. Everything will work out." He shrugs and shoves the list back into his pocket. We wave bye when he gets on the bus, and I watch it pull away. When I get to the subway station 2 blocks away, I see the same 3 kids hanging out in front of the bagel place next door. They're still laughing and yucking each other like they're some kind of gangbangers. Little rich boys in expensive skinny jeans acting tough. Don't know what possesses me, but I take my glasses off, put them in my pocket, and tuck my fiddle case under my arm so the pointy side is facing up. I walk over to them, my face scrunched up, mean looking. They look at me, laughs dying on their lips when they see me. Ice cream cones at odd angles. "Yo, listen up. Don't mess with Jack," I say really slowly, gritting my teeth, my voice all Clint Eastwood tough guy. "Mess with him again, and you will be very, very sorry." And then I tap my fiddle case for effect. "Got it?" They nod in unison, ice cream dripping onto their hands. "Good." I nod mysteriously, then sprint down the subway 2 steps at a time. Chapter 6, Rehearsal, on page 200. Make sure your finger is following along. The play is taking up most of my time as we get closer to opening night. Lots of lines to remember, long monologues where it's just me talking. Olivia had this great idea though, and it's helping. I have my fiddle with me on stage and play it a bit while I'm talking. It's not written that way, but Mr. Davenport thinks it adds an extra folksy element to have the stage manager plucking on a fiddle. And for me, it's so great because whenever I need a second to remember my next line, I just start playing a little Soldier's Joy on my fiddle and it buys me some time. Ooh, what is Soldier's Joy? Look at that word, Soldier's Joy. What is that? Zari?
A song.
A song. How do we write song titles? Victoria? Is a song a major work or a minor work? A big long one or a small shorter one? A minor work. How do we write the titles of minor works? What punctuation do we put in? Smith?
Quotation marks.
Quotation marks. So Soldier's Joy is in quotations because it's the name of a song. Remember, songs are minor works because they're part of that larger major work, which is the album. Okay, make sure your finger's ready to follow along. I've gotten to know the kids in the show a lot better, especially the pink-haired girl who plays Emily. Turns out she's not nearly as stuck up as I thought she was, given the crowd she hangs out with. Her boyfriend's this built jock who's a big deal on the varsity sports circuit at school. It's a whole world that I have nothing to do with. So I'm kind of surprised that this Miranda girl turns out to be kind of nice. We're on page 200. We're about halfway down. Are you on page 200? Find 200. One day we're sitting on the floor backstage waiting for the tech guys to fix the main spotlight. So how long have you and Olivia been dating? She asks out of the blue. About 4 months now, I say. Have you met her brother? She says casually. It's so unexpected that I can't hide my surprise. You know Olivia's brother? I ask. Via didn't tell you? We used to be good friends. I've known Augie since he was a baby. Oh, yeah, I think I knew that, I answer. I don't want to let on that Olivia had not told me any of this. I don't want to let on how surprised I am that she called her Via. Nobody but Olivia's family calls her Via. And here, this pink-haired girl who I thought was a stranger is calling her Via. Miranda laughs and shakes her head, but she doesn't say anything. There's an awkward silence, and then she starts fishing through her bag and pulls out her wallet. She rifles through a couple of pictures and then hands one to me. It's of a little boy in a park on a sunny day. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt and an astronaut helmet that covers his entire head. It was like 100 degrees that day, she says, smiling at the picture, but he wouldn't take off that helmet for anything. He wore it for like 2 years straight, in the winter, in the summer, at the beach. It was crazy. Yeah, I've seen pictures in Olivia's house. I'm the one who gave him the helmet, she says. She sounds a little proud of that. She takes the picture and carefully inserts it back into her wallet. Cool, I answer. So you're okay with it? She says, looking at me. I look at her blankly. Okay with what? She raises her eyebrows like she doesn't believe me. You know what I'm talking about, she says, and takes a long drink from her water bottle. Let's face it, she continues. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. Make sure your finger's following along. Chapter 7, Bird. Why didn't you tell me that you and Miranda Navas used to be friends? I say to Olivia the next day. I'm really annoyed at her for not telling me this. It's not a big deal, she answers defensively, looking at me like I'm weird. It is a big deal, I say. I looked like an idiot. How could you not tell me? You've always acted like you don't even know her. I don't know her, she answers quickly. I don't know who that pink-haired cheerleader is. The girl I knew was a total dork who collected American Girl dolls. Oh, come on, Olivia. You come on. You could have mentioned it to me at some point, I say quietly, pretending not to notice the big fat tear that's suddenly rolling down her cheek. She shrugs, fighting back bigger tears. It's okay, I'm not mad, I say, thinking the tears are about me. I honestly don't care if you're mad. she says spitefully. Oh, that's real nice, I fire back. She doesn't say anything. The tears are about to come. Olivia, what's the matter? I say. She shakes her head like she doesn't want to talk about it. But all of a sudden, the tears start rolling a mile a minute. I'm sorry, it's not you, Justin. I'm not crying because of you, she finally says through her tears. Then why are you crying? Because I'm an awful person. What are you talking about? She's not looking at me, wiping her tears with the palm of her hand. I haven't told my parents about the show, she says quickly. I shake my head because I don't quite get what she's telling me. That's okay, I say. It's not too late. There's still tickets available. I don't want them to come to the show, Justin. She interrupts impatiently. Don't you see what I'm saying? I don't want them to come. If they come, they'll bring Augie with them, and I just don't feel like... Here, she's hit by another round of crying that doesn't let her finish talking. I put my arm around her. I'm an awful person, she says through her tears. You're not an awful person, I say softly. Yes, I am, she sobs. It's just been so nice being in a new school where nobody knows about him, you know? Nobody's whispering about it behind my back. It's just been so nice, Justin. But if he comes to the play, then everyone will talk about it. Everyone will know. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I swear I've never been embarrassed by him before. I know, I say, soothing her. You're entitled, Olivia. You've dealt with a lot your whole life. Olivia reminds me of a bird sometimes, how her feathers get all ruffled when she's mad. And when she's fragile like this, she's a little lost bird looking for its nest. So I give her my wing to hide under. Chapter 8, The Universe. Make sure you're following along. I can't sleep tonight. My head is full of thoughts that won't turn off. Lines from my monologues. Elements of the periodic table that I'm supposed to be memorizing. Theorems I'm supposed to be understanding. Olivia. Augie. Miranda's words keep coming back. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. I'm thinking about that a lot and everything it means. She's right about that. The universe was not kind to Augie Pullman. Make sure you're following along with your finger and your eyes. What did that little kid ever do to deserve his sentence? What did the parents do? Or Olivia? She once mentioned that some doctor told her parents that the odds of someone getting the same combination of syndromes that came together to make Augie's face were like 1 in 4 million. So doesn't that make the universe a giant lottery then? You purchase a ticket when you're born, and it's all just random whether you get a good ticket or a bad ticket. It's all just luck. My head swirls on this, but then softer thoughts soothe, like a flatted third on a major chord. No, it's not all random. If it really was all random, the universe would abandon us completely. And the universe doesn't. It takes care of its most fragile creations in ways we can't see, like with parents who adore you blindly, and a big sister who feels guilty for being human over you, and a little gravelly-voiced kid whose friends have left him over you, and even a pink-haired girl who carries your picture in her wallet. Maybe it is a lottery, but the universe makes it all even out in the end. The universe takes care of all of its birds. Okay, who heard unison? Aaron.
I heard it when Justin was walking over to the bullies.
Who were the bullies? Justin was walking to the bullies. Who were the bullies?
Julian and his friends.
Julian and his friends. Who remembers those two friends' names? Zari?
Henry and Miles.
Henry and Miles. And what was he walking over to them for?
Because they were being mean to Jeff.
Okay. And why was he walking over there?
Because he wanted
Okay, and why did he use the word unison? Victoria?
Because they did it all at the same time.
What did they do all at the same time?
They nodded.
They nodded in unison. They were doing it all at the same time. It was like all of them were going at the same speed at the same time. What were they nodding about? Zari?
When he came up and said, if you don't leave Jack alone, then I'm gonna get you. And then they were all like, okay.
Okay, good. What about abandon? Who heard abandon? Smith.
Justin was saying that the universe doesn't abandon us.
He was saying the universe doesn't abandon us. What does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? The universe doesn't abandon us. Victoria?
It doesn't. What he was meaning by the universe doesn't abandon us, it like the world takes care of us, and like he said at the end, like the universe is like we're the bird.
Good. So he's saying the universe doesn't abandon us. It finds ways to take care of us. Ways like what? What ways does the universe make sure to take care of Augie? What ways? Tell me one, Victoria.
Like to have food and shelter.
Does he say that about August? What ways does he say the universe has taken care of August? Okay, Victoria, try again.
That his sister is trying to protect him, and so are his parents.
Good. So he has parents and a sister that love him and protect him. That's one way. Who remembers another way that the universe takes care? Don't just stare off into space and wait for somebody else to answer. I have 10 kids doing that right now and one actually answering. Don't guess either. There are ways to figure it out. It was the very last thing I read. Colin, focus. I can tell that when you're staring off into space. Zari, you want to try?
Yes.
Okay. What's another way that the universe takes care of August? Victoria told us he has parents and a sister that love him and protect him.
He was trying to make everything better, and he knows
There are specific examples that Justin gave of ways that the universe takes care of August. Victoria told us, well, 2 of those ways. He has parents who love him no matter what. He has a sister who protects him and feels bad about being embarrassed. Victoria?
He has ex-friend Miranda, because he keeps photos, and August has a friend, Jack, with friend, maybe Charlotte.
It really only mentioned one.
Jack.
Because does he know about the other kids? No.
So
Who's willing to do what? Jack. He has Miranda, who isn't even friends with his sister anymore, but keeps a picture of him. And then he's got a friend, Jack, who's willing to do what?
for protection.
But Jack is willing to do what? Just to be friends with August. Smith.
He is willing to put up or stand up for August.
And what happened? So he's willing to do what? What happened because he said, I'm going to be friends with August no matter what? Zari.
He lost the rest of his friends.
He lost the rest of his friends. Everybody, turn back to page 204. I'm going to read this last paragraph again because this paragraph is really what this whole story is trying to tell us. Everybody, listen and follow along. Books on your desks, please. Because I can tell a lot of you were just kind of listening to the words, but not really listening. I also saw a lot of you with your eyes not on your book or on different pages of your book, not following along, which means you weren't really listening. So I'm going to read this last paragraph again. Fingers ready to follow along. Make sure you are actually listening, following along, and paying attention. My head swirls on this, but then softer thoughts soothe, like a flatted third on a major chord. No, it's not all random. If it really was all random, the universe would abandon us completely. And the universe doesn't. It takes care of its most fragile creations in ways we can't see, like with parents who adore you blindly, and a big sister who feels guilty for being human over you, and a little gravelly-voiced kid whose friends have left him over you, and even a pink-haired girl who carries your picture in her wallet. Maybe it is a lottery, but the universe makes it all even out in the end. The universe takes care of all of its birds. So basically what he's saying is that even though August had this horrible thing happen to him, is his life all that horrible? No. So even though he had no choice and the universe gave him this abnormality and causes a lot of problems, he's got a lot of things balancing that out. He's got a good friend who is willing to lose all of his friends over him. He's got a sister who feels bad about being a human being, being embarrassed about something. He's got parents who love him no matter what and don't treat him any differently. And then he's got Miranda, who doesn't even talk to his sister but cares enough about him to keep a picture of him in her wallet. Okay, I can still tell a lot of you were not paying attention during that, but you know what? That's just how it is. If you're playing with something or looking off into space, you're not really thinking about what's going on. Okay, girls at home, get out your journals. Those of you at school, I will tell. What does Justin do after Jack gets on the bus? Why do you think he does this? So that means you answer the question, what did Justin do after Jack got on the bus? Why do you think he does this? He doesn't really explain why he did it. He just did it. Well, why do you think he did it? Make an inference. Based on Justin's personality and what's been going on, why do you think this happened? Number 2, how does Justin's impression of Miranda change as he gets to know her? Why? That means, how does his impression change? What was it at first? What is his impression of her now? Remember, an impression means what does he think? What did he think about her at first? What does he think about her now? Why did this change happen? So that's 2 parts. How did it change? So you say this is what it was at first. This is what it is now. Why did that happen? Why did it change from that first thought to what it is now? Number 3, what does Miranda tell Justin that surprises him? So basically what you're doing with number 3 is you're summarizing that conversation between Miranda and Justin. Does everybody understand? For number 3, if you choose to answer that, you're basically summarizing the conversation between Justin and Miranda. Number 5, why does Olivia call herself an awful person? So what does she say about herself? Why is she saying that about herself? Number 5, in this chapter, Justin writes, no, it's not all random. If it really was all random, the universe would abandon us completely, and the universe doesn't. What does he mean by this? So what is this quote that he just said meant? What does it mean? If you're paying attention to our conversation, you already have a pretty good answer. Do you agree or disagree with him? Why? So what that means is, what does he mean by this quote? We actually discussed this. So if you were listening, you have an idea of what to write. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with what he means? Why do you agree? Why do you disagree? Yes, Victoria.
So what am I going to do after because
You'll have the printed questions.
oh,
Okay. Does anybody have questions? So for homework, what you're going to do, hold on one second, is I'm going to give you a printed out copy. Girls at home, make sure that you number it so that you know. Those of you at school, you'll have it. I'll have this part underlined. Remember, whatever's underlined, that's the only part you have to write. You don't have to write the quote. You don't have to write, in this chapter, Justin writes, no, it's not all random. If it really was all random, the universe would abandon us completely, and the universe doesn't. You just have to write, what does he mean by this? Do you agree or disagree with him? Why? So, you will follow the same exact instructions. 2 or more complete sentences, enough to fully answer the question. Make sure you really think about it. Make sure your grammar is good. Write the question, skip 1 line, write the answer, skip 1 line, write the question, skip 1 line. You're going to time yourself for 15 minutes. Then, if the 15 minutes are up and you're in the middle of writing a question, you don't have to do the extra 2 minutes, just finish the answer. If the 15 minutes are up and you just finished an answer, answer 1 more. Yes, Zadie.
Will you send something to our parents or just trust us?
I'm going to trust you because you're 4th graders now. And you know what I'm looking for because it's the same thing I've been looking for. And I'm saying it to you right now. So when you get home, and it has directions on it with all the stuff I used to write on the board. Smith, hand down until I'm finished speaking. So that means you need to do what you need to do. I'm not telling your parents because you're 4th graders now. You know what you need to do. This is like our, I don't know, like 20th Wonder Journal, maybe? Something like that, maybe the upper teens. So you know what is expected of you. So that means you do that. In your homework pad, you're not going to write reading log. You're going to write Wonder comprehension questions. And I will print this and give it to you before the end of the day. Girls at home, you already have it. Smith, what is your question?
Even if you said we don't have to time ourselves, I was going to do it anyway because
Yes.
it makes it easier.
Yes, so you'll time yourself for 15 minutes. Once 15 minutes is up, if you're in the middle of writing writing an answer, finish writing the answer. If you just finished writing an answer, then you need to do 1 more. Since you're timing yourself, if you notice when you finish a question that you still have 2 minutes left, don't stop. That's why I don't tell you how much time is left. Because I know if I'm like, okay, you have 2 minutes left, a lot of you are going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to stop here. Do not stop. Keep going. Does everybody understand? I am looking for the same effort that I see in all of your other journals. Because you're getting the same amount of time, if not a little more, because you get however much time you need rather than just 2 minutes at the end. Does everybody understand? Okay, clear your desks. Go ahead and get out your reading logs if you were at